So how do you freak this reality though? Based off my experience, this is what you gotta do. Just based off of my experience. When I was a little kid, I used to go outside all the damn time. In an evil ass city. Everybody killed each other, they kidnapped motherfuckers, even the kids. They broke in each other's house every day. It was just crazy, man. Spirits was walking around literally, and you could see them and feel them, and they would move stuff around in your house. You know, like the mischievous ones, you know, that hide your keys and then you will find them later in a different spot. You know you ain't put them there. Just all kinds of ill shit like that. Sometimes y'all look out the window at night, you'll see Indians and shit dancing around the fire, and then you will double look and rub your eyes and they be gone. Like, what the fuck? You can even hear these shit, yo. You see all kinds of mysterious cryptids. Yeah, I came from the projects, you know, in an area that had all this activity going on. I was manipulating my reality around me and didn't even know it. So I used to go outside all the time in the summer, drink water, and don't eat. For real. Just go outside, drink water, all day long. That's all I would have was water. So I was literally fasting as a kid because we was poor. And plus people just made shit I did not want to eat. I got to the point where my thinking was clear in everything. And I was connected spiritually to something. But I ain't know that shit. Eventually, I found myself just daydreaming and shit, thinking I'm thinking about some shit. But really, I'm sitting there in meditation mode because I was kind of like sleepy. And then sometimes your body go on standby. I ended up trying to get up. But instead of me getting up, my spiritual body got up. And I walked around in my own type shit. I got scared and panicked because I felt light. But little did I know I was feeling like light, as in like the light that you shine. But I couldn't tell that I felt light as in not heavy. So I was having a double epiphany situation, like, whoa, what the fuck going on? So when I was in that vibration state, the shit that I would think somehow would come to fruition. So if I didn't want to go to school, I would imagine not getting in trouble and skipping. And voila, I would not get in trouble and be able to skip. And no, I was not failing. I don't know how this shit was happening, but if I wasn't on that vibration, I would have had bad report card. They would have been reporting that I've been skipping school and shit. It's like something happened that bent everything to my favor. But in reality, it is when you attach to the fourth density or whatever the fuck you call that shit. And what I'm talking about is when you go to sleep and you dream, that's the astral realm. I was awake when I did this shit. I was just in like a meditation form. So it was like kind of half sleep, kind of woke. And that's where my spirit body disconnected from my physical. So my spiritual body still looked like my physical body. So it was weird. It was like my spirit had on the same goddamn clothes. It's like it duplicated everything. So whatever the fuck I was wearing in the physical, I was wearing in that spirit. Whatever that density is right there. They call that the fourth density, I guess. That's the one right there we supposed to have access to all the time. The reptilians got access to that shit all the time. They show you that they got access to that when they showed us the Predator movies from the 90s and shit. They put on this motherfucking mask, right? And it'll show you the different layers of this reality. Some of them will look like it's infrared, and then the other ones will look like whatever the fuck we see, kind of like, you know. You remember when they had that fucking mask on Predator and shit? And by the way, the Predator was talking about them, but it was trying to mix it up and show the melanated Anunnaki reptilian version of the Dracos. And I could kind of believe that. Because, you know, you look at the Pope and all of them, they look at a Madonna creature, an all black lady with a baby in her hand as a motherly god. So it's a definitely possibility that these Draco motherfucker have like a what you would call like a niggerish type of vibe to them. I mean, motherfucking Dr. Delbert Blair said he ran into black extraterrestrials that was hanging out with this white German scientist that came down here. But the funny part about it is just because these motherfuckers carry that same note or hint of essence don't mean they the same motherfuckers as you. That's why they was able to get all them different African tribes, even though they all brown, to really literally come at each other. Because some of them is fruit based. They live in the love and harmony. Other ones is cannibal based. They live in a low frequency. See, some of them are savages. So the brown skin is just the avatar at some point. But the energy that encases it, that also has an origin as well. So I'm willing to step out on a limb here and say that most black people, even white folks, shit, anybody on this planet that's a human who got a soul, do not act like the race that they come from. Niggas don't act like niggas. White people don't act like white people. Asians don't act like Asians. What I'm trying to say here is we all act like a universal being that does not act like the rest of the beings here. And somehow we came pre-downloaded with knowing what between right and wrong and all that other type of shit. Basically equipped with all the information of the cosmos to the point where we can be the custodians and the parents of this whole shit. But, you know, it gets degraded and it disappears off of us once we get brought into gravity. That's why they brought that extraterrestrial drug here and modified it, called marijuana, so you can artificially get high, baby. All you do is get trapped. Not like in a sense where you in another prison. You just get put into another think box or a location where they want you to be so you can cope. That's why I said, man, we all gotta figure out ways to cope. And that's all that do. It don't literally get you high like you would like it to. Yeah. That's why when you go to the hood and you see all these hood people that act hood, that's how I know. It ain't the TV, it ain't the media, it ain't the music, it ain't none of that shit making them be like that. That's that reptilian DNA, baby. Yes, yes. Because you can look down in South America, you can see that niggerish shit. And then the niggerish of the niggerish people love the most races of the crackerish people. And those people love them back. So what does that tell you right there? That means that niggerish behavior and that racist crackerish behavior all came from one vessel out of the Draconians. And when they manipulated us as the Anunnaki, they took parts of themselves and placed it into us and gave us one aspect of themselves. That's why in the Bible it say, come, let us make man in our image and in our liking. Who the fuck said that shit? They said that shit when they remixed the Bible. Can I get a witness? Ha! In this cosmic church. Hello. And another funny thing is, this is a mind twister right here. The story of Cain and Abel, right? They literally tried to say Cain was the evil one. But that's to be determined, right? Because when you wake up out your slumber, you end up finding out the most nicest, kindest motherfuckers on the surface. These motherfuckers be on some sacrifice and shit. They be a part of secret societies and shit. They be gatekeepers and shit. You know? They got a whole mask on. And they willing to sacrifice their blood, baby. And who was willing to sacrifice their blood, baby? Motherfucking goddamn Abel. See, they try to play it off and made it seem like, hold on, pay attention. They try to play it off and made it seem like Cain just brought that nigga, you know, this Lord person. Now watch this. Before we even get off into what they brought, what the fuck God is physical on earth demanding a sacrifice? Not a real one. See, that goes past all of these people that claim to be, you know, Christians or whoever believe in this shit. That go past their motherfucking head. And then they try to put that shit on us and make us be stupid right along with them. What physical entity is on earth calling itself the Lord and asking for a sacrifice? I'll wait. That's right. None. False gods. Now let's move on. They try to play it off like this nigga, right, told Cain, that Cain, you know, brought him a bunch of like garbage in a bag, basically. But that dude brought him like a whole feast of vegetarian and, you know, fruit, herbs. He was saying, this is the stuff you need right here. And he was saying, y'all ain't have to sacrifice nothing. And this is the stuff you need right here from the earth, baby. But Abel, he already knew what this false god wanted. He gave that motherfucker that blood. And, you know, humans, we're known as sheeple. So, just because, you know, it plays it off in the Bible and say that he gave him a lamb or a sheep animal, we wasn't there. We don't really know. He probably killed another motherfucker. So Abel kind of like that first Freemason that bowed down to Satan and did that ritual sacrifice so he can live good on earth. Cain already didn't want to give this motherfucker a sacrifice because that's bowing down to this false entity claiming to be a god. But he did it anyway Because apparently at that time, he realized they was also trapped in a matrix. So he went and did it anyway, hoping that it brought peace. But when he seen that this deity only accepted Abel's shit, eventually Cain decided to kill Abel. Now here go the funny part. Somewhere along the lines in the Bible in that story, we end up discovering Cain really is not Abel's real brother. So, of course, Cain ain't had no problem killing this motherfucking perpetrator that wasn't really his brother. Because he knew anybody that was related to him had his DNA and his spirit when the motherfucking brought that false-ass deity no blood. And definitely wouldn't have killed another motherfucker to get into his graces so he can live good on earth. When we already living good on earth, baby. Cain was trying to show that. So then he got banished from the garden, supposedly, right? To live on the outside of the garden. To be fucked up out here, fending for himself. And now today you got this motherfucking restaurant called Raising Cane's. That's a subliminal, right? And then the color of the restaurant is red. It's trying to speak to us subliminally. But everybody out here ain't Canes. And a lot of people wouldn't even understand what I just said. So anyway, back to what I was saying though. So when I did that, I was able to think things into existence. Now, not like on no magical manipulation level, just realistic shit, kind of like how I wanted it to go. Stuff would play out how I needed it to, kind of. And I noticed it did that shit because I was clean. Now, these days you probably can't get me to do that shit. Just go without eating, drink water only, and absorb nothing but sun all day. Just absorb the sun, absorb the sun. But that's the truth. That's how you do it. You have to drink clean water. Not from no bottle. I'm talking about like real clean water, for real. Like well water, stream water, spring water, that type of shit. Water that's alive. And you gotta literally absorb the sun all day. All the time. But this fucking water we got and this sun that we got now is probably impossible. But if you can get close to that, and to the point where you get tired and shit, and you be like half falling asleep, but still being awake and shit. If you ever feel that, like where you feel like you took a nap, but then something nudged you and woke you up, that's where you want to be. That's the in-between realm. Once you feel that, you can literally think things. And once you start thinking things, they gotta be realistic things that already work here in this realm. You can be like, man, I hope I find a wallet on the ground. It might not happen right then and there, but at some point, you're gonna find one on the ground. Man, I hope I can get that bitch over there. You might not get her, but you'll get something similar. You catching me? Man, I'm tired of this homeless shit, man. Something gotta shake. You know, while you in that state right there, all you gotta do is think it. Keep it to yourself. Don't tell nobody. Visualize it. And then somehow a certain part of the matrix will bend to your will and it'll allow you to have this shit. And I figured Cain already knew that shit too. But he also knew that we was also getting placed into this matrix shit, taking that away from us, that ability. So he was just trying to keep the peace. And then another thing, like, when you ain't around nobody, sometimes you gotta speak shit into existence too. But this is to be continued in the big world.